say to my left.
Yes, sir. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. You are watching 100 Yards of Football. This is our SEC preview show, week number 10, along with our founder and co-host, Vincent Turner, our UGA Bulldawg, Juan Daniels. And Juan also is a scout for the Auburn Tigers right now. He's got his eyes and ears on everything Auburn. Before we even proceed, Juan, first and foremost, I'm going to say as a dad, as a fan, and as a college football analyst, congratulations, my friend. Your son got a chance to play finally at University of Auburn. It's been a long, patient wait and a lot of ifs, ands, or buts in the middle of it. But from one dad to another, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was awesome. Just seeing him going in there, it was something we wanted to happen. But then, of course, when he gets the opportunity to go in there, you're just shaking like a leaf. So we didn't stop shaking until probably about 30 minutes after the game was over with, and we already won. But it was such a great experience, great environment. But for him to have the opportunity to come and help his team, secure that victory was really, really awesome.
Well, and Auburn gets their first SEC win of the season too. So you get off the schneid with that, and then you got another game this week. We still don't know who the starting quarterback, and we'll talk a little bit about the Kentucky game later. But in your opinion, one, as a dad, okay, so let me back up a little bit. Were you more nervous watching your son play than you've ever been playing in any game at any time?
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, you're down 10, down 11 points against a really good Arkansas team. And you have to come back, you have to score in some form or fashion. It's an SEC road game. And, yes, my son has had an opportunity to start for 2 years in a Power 4 conference, but there's nothing like SEC football. So it just means more.
The guy who's in the middle of the screen right now is a pig suey warrior. You know what I mean? What was it like for you going there? I know it probably not the biggest game they've played in a while, but still nonetheless, hearing all those pig sueys and stuff like that, you probably said at one point, this is your first time there, right? You've never been to Razorback Stadium, right?
First time.
And you've heard about it and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, I've seen Vincent do it.
Was there anything that you go, oh my gosh, this is even crazier than I thought?
Yeah,
because
they were doing it during the tailgates. They were doing it obviously before the game. They were also doing it during the game. They love their Arkansas football. I can tell you that much right there. So they take a lot of pride in it. And but to see them do it, I just pictured Vincent the entire time as they were doing the chant. And I also
Juan, were you wearing any orange or navy? What were you wearing? Auburn colors?
Yes, I was.
So every person you walked by knew that you were a Tiger.
Yes.
And that's another reason for them to do pig suey, like get the heck out of here, right?
Yeah.
They were not being mean about it.
Well, they were actually really like a great group of fans. They really were. They treated us well. One of my friends that I went to high school with, he, his wife, he and his wife were big time Arkansas fans. Their children went to Arkansas, so they tailgated and did everything Arkansas. So they welcomed us in. We went to their tailgate. Everybody was wonderful. They did the pig suey chant, which was great. But we had a great time.
Good band, nice fights. Oh, hold on, Vincent, put your mic just a little bit further away. I can hear the breathing. The band good, the atmosphere good. I mean, there's some places where you go, this is a great college atmosphere, and the music is great. The cheerleaders look like they're, they got everything going on. I mean, it was professionally run.
It was great, and just the traditions that they have and that's why you love SEC college football, is just because of the great traditions, the band, the cheerleaders, and even the mascots running, going back and forth was awesome. So they really put on a great show.
Vincent, just for anyone who may not know, what is one of the war chants of the Arkansas Razorbacks?
Pig suey Razorbacks. We're not
get the whole fight song, but we're going to get 90% of it. Go on, Vincent. I want to hear it, man.
da. Oh, pig, suey. Oh, pig, suey.
Okay, no. Okay,
Oh,
we got plenty. Hey, Juan, seriously, it's a good thing you didn't have to hear that all night long,
Yeah,
right? And the
yeah.
team played well. Your son gets the chance to really show what he can do. Come from behind, win, and talk a little bit about just the game itself.
Going into the game, you're kind of nervous. Arkansas has, they've been putting up points galore against some really good teams. They put up 42 against Texas A&M. They put up a lot of points against Ole Miss. The same, same with, with other teams in the SEC. So the question is, were we going to be able to hold them, and then were we also going to be able to score points? And next thing you know, we're down 21-10 to this high-powered offense. Which, let me just tell you, Bobby Petrino. Say what you will about him, he's an excellent offensive coordinator, and the things that he was doing, especially in that first half, there was so much confusion on the defense, and people were just running wide open. They were scoring touchdowns, and so we're down 21-10. Fortunately, we get the ball coming out, but again, the nerves. We go down and we kick a field goal, then we go back down again and kick a field goal, and it just the game just kind of got blown open once we got that pick six. And then we just kind of held on to the ball a little bit and just kicked some field goals. We nickeled and dimed them. But again, a win is a win. So, stat line wasn't the best for Ashton, but hey, a win is a win.
Yeah. You mentioned something. I'm not a fan of Bobby Petrino, but you are right. It's kind of like there's some music bands and acts that are out there that I may not ever buy their stuff, but I respect the fact that if they've got a gold record, I don't have one. I don't have a single gold record, so I respect, even though I may not buy their stuff.
Right.
Bobby Petrino can move an offense as good as just about anybody out there. He loves Arkansas. He's been there for a while. He's back. And what was it about their offense that was impressive to you during that early portion when it was 21-10? What were you thinking in terms of, I don't know if we're going to be able to stop these guys?
You just had people coming just wide open from everywhere. And Taylor Green did a great job of sitting in the pocket. He found those guys. And, then they also ran a couple of trick plays that, people were just wide open. And you're like, what is going on? Like, this is supposed to be a top-notch defense, and you got guys all over the place. And so, fortunately for, DJ Durkin, he did a great job of adjusting in-game adjustments and then also halftime adjustments to help slow that down the second half.
Yeah. And Vincent, these are your Razorbacks. I mean, for obvious reasons, you have a propensity to and anyone would, where they went to school and certain things about it. Auburn's now 4-4. They're 1-4. They were 0-4 going into the conference. What slipped out of your hands from an Arkansas stand's point of view?
I think the game kind of changed when Ashton started the second half for Auburn. He kind of slowed the offense down, but one thing about quarterbacks, the team seemed like they got energy behind them. Seemed like they came alive, the whole team, especially offensively. And with any good quarterback, I'm going to say great quarterback, Ashton made the key plays at the key points of the game. I believe it was a 45-yard pass to Eric Singleton. Then I think taking the team down, 4 straight times in the right one on scoring drives. Hey, man, and then it seemed like the defense started playing better. And the game changed once Ashton got under center.
Yeah.
And much blessings to Mr. Daniels.
Thank you.
Look at that proud daddy. Go ahead, daddy.
Yeah. Yeah. His chest got a little bit bigger in the second half. Did you notice that? He walked around like this a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no matter where you go, right? It doesn't matter if you're in Starkville or Baton Rouge. You can go anywhere in an SEC school, in the setting, in a location, a stadium, and it is as good as it gets. There are places that have great facilities, absolutely, not denying it, but Dollar for dollar, pound for pound, the SEC is pretty amazing. All right, let's start looking at this week's action. If you don't mind, fellas, there's a couple of games here that are of critical importance, and one of them is what we'll talk about in just a second. First, we're going to begin bye week for 4 teams. Texas A&M, what are they, number 3 in the country? Alabama in top 10. Missouri is in the top 20. LSU drops out. Perfect time to let a coach go, right, Vincent?
Hey man, I was very shocked. To be honest, I didn't see that coming. I thought maybe if they lost to Alabama in the 2 weeks that he'd be gone. But obviously, I think it was the second half how LSU played. The punt return seemed like they didn't have efforts. KC Concepcion scored on that long punt return. And then if you saw in the second half, he was talking to the special teams coach, and it seemed like everything started to unglue there. But at the end of the day, as we all know, it's about a business of expectations. LSU don't want you coming down there. Hey, we want to go 8-4, 9-3. Now the expectations of win national championships. And think about it, in the last 30 years, they've had 3 coaches that's won the chip: Nick Saban, Les Miles, and Ed Orgeron. And it's a lot of talent in the state of Louisiana. And then think about this. I was thinking as I turn it back over to you, Harp, is that Jaden Daniels, first round pick with the Washington Commanders. Will Campbell playing outstanding for the New England Patriots right now, first round pick. Malik Neighbors, he out for the year, but first round pick with the Giants. Brian Thomas, first round pick with the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's under Brian Kelly's regime. And this year they spent $18 million in NIL, especially on their defensive side of the ball. So hey, not surprised. I'm just going to be surprised, and I want to see who's going to be the next head coach. Back to you, Harp.
Well, one, obviously, Vincent brings up a lot of interesting points. One of them for me is from the business side of it. I would imagine the LSU board of regents and everyone else that has a say in that decision, you don't make one that quickly without counting the cost and the expense and the buyout and everything that's a part of it. And you also have to consider the recruiting aspect of it. With a December 1st initial signing day, you got to make your decision a little bit earlier than later. Is that why we're seeing Penn State, as Colorado State, LSU, and anybody else that's going to make a move like this? You want to do it early as opposed to doing it late.
Absolutely. And, unfortunately for LSU, the wheels kind of started coming off when they lost to Vanderbilt. And, even though Vanderbilt is a really, really good team, even Nick Saban said, he's like, unfortunately, on game day, he says, I just can't pick Vanderbilt because for so many years, Vanderbilt's always been so bad. And so, once that happened and then you get kind of blown out by Texas A&M, they just thought we've got to make a change. And you've got recruits that are going to these games, recruits that are watching these games. I mean, big time recruits. They don't want to go to a place that seems like it's crumbling and falling down. So they decided, hey, you know what? We're going to go. We're going to take our time. We're going to get a great coach. We'll do it. They have like the end of October, the whole month of November to try to get somebody in there so that, when come December time, if those LSU recruits that are already going to go there are still going to say, you know what? I still want to be an LSU Tiger.
Yeah. And we're talking about a bundle of 4-stars and a few select 5s that have already kind of made a commitment there. And if you lose any of them, if they're going to Ohio State or Michigan, if they're going to Auburn of all places, or anywhere else, out to California or Tennessee, Florida, it doesn't matter. You don't want to lose any of those kids because they're such a critical part of putting everything together, including the NIL money, which Vincent mentioned. They've spent a ton of it. They got to make this. They got to make a correction quickly, in my opinion. Juan, I'll go to you first with that.
Yes. They absolutely have to. And in order, just again, it's about the state of the program, and they're hoping to have a situation kind of like Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer, Nick Saban, he retires. It wasn't a firing, but he retires, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, the program is going to go down tremendously. They bring in Kalen DeBoer, and he had a rough first year, but now he's kind of righted the ship where, again, you got an Alabama team that's in the top 10. That is what LSU is trying to do. They're trying to get that type of a quality coach that's not going to fall off, where the talent's not going to fall off and the program's not going to fall off, and maybe one down year, but then that next year they're going to be right at the top in the mix.
Is that coach available right now, meaning that he is not coaching somewhere, or are they going to have to snipe and go visit and talk to an agent from a coach or for a coach that is already currently employed? There's some difficult decisions that need to be made.
I believe that coach is available at some, it's somewhere. They were in talks with with the Notre Dame head coach, and also too, you got Brian Hartline, who is the receiver coach at Ohio State. That would be a great head coaching hire. He's got the experience. He's put multiple people, multiple receivers in the NFL. At one point in time, LSU was looked at as receiver U. So to go in there as if you're a receiver, if you're a quarterback, I can promise you that's the place that you want to go, and you want to follow him. So they've got a couple of good leads that they can actually run to right now.
Yeah, but doesn't that guy, Vincent, doesn't any coach that if he's currently employed right now, he's got to wait till the end of the season. And if it's a good enough program, you're waiting until the middle of January before you can pull the trigger and get that guy on your campus.
I think right now with LSU, I think I will wait for my candidate if that's the guy I really want. The main thing is that both you gentlemen just said, going forward playing quality competitive football, so you won't lose the recruits. Because if Brian Hartline or Lane Kiffin are in the mix, then you're going to have a star power name. And I didn't think about Brian Hartline. I got to give one credit on that. The guy's got pedigree. All you got to do is look at how the Ohio State receivers doing right now in the National Football League. That's all you got to look. And you know how these young kids are. They look at two things. They look at your resume and can you get me to the league? And that guy has a tremendous resume. But me personally, one, when you said they got a coach in them waiting, right now I thought you was talking about my man, and I hope Pop don't get upset, but he know I'm finna mention pretty boy James Franklin. On word on the street, James Franklin been calling. His people been calling real hard for the LSU job, but I'm gonna leave it at that. I don't want to start nothing this evening.
What's he calling? He doesn't have a job. He's calling everybody else. You want them to call you. I think that's where part of it goes. But we're going to find out here real quick. Okay, so Alabama, Texas A&M, Missouri, three of the four teams that are on a bye this week are a part of what is I would consider to be a tremendous SEC resume, where you've got 9 of the top 20 schools, not 21, not 24. Texas is at 19. Texas is at 20. Missouri is at 19. Oklahoma is at 18. Tennessee is at 14. Vanderbilt 9. Ole Miss at 7. Georgia at 5. Alabama at 4. Texas A&M at 3. Are you kidding me? Vincent, I'll start with you. Great football teams that everyone else in the country is going, yeah, on just about any Saturday, you're going to beat just about anybody outside of the top 10.
Well, it proves my point. Where's the greatest football played at? It's not in the Big Ten. It's not in the Pac-12. It's the SEC. And as much as I can say. And leading up to the following weeks, what I'm really going to look forward to is elimination. The big men are going to come to the table, and the little guys are going to fall to the side. It's going to be some real good football coming up in the next few weeks, gentlemen. It actually going to be playoff football, if you want to be honest about it. Starting this week with Oklahoma and Tennessee is playoff football. Back to you, Hart.
Well, we'll get to it in just a second, but Juan, just real quick, you got 9 teams in the top 20. The Big 12 has a few teams, but they're like from 15 to 25. Big 10 has a couple in the 1 and 2, but you got to think. I mean, the conference itself is representing.
Yeah, and when you really look at it, the quality that you're going to have in the SEC is top notch. And again, you mentioned the Big 10 having 1 and 2. Those two teams won't see each other until the Big 10 championship. So schedule wise, are they playing that brutal schedule that these SEC teams are playing? And it's long ago are the days that you just had the bottom of the barrels of the Mississippi States, the Vanderbilts, the Kentuckys. Like, these teams are going out there and they're competing every week. Who would have thought that a couple of weeks ago Kentucky would have taken Texas into overtime? last week's games. I mean, South Carolina should beat Alabama. And Texas should have lost to Mississippi State. That was my upset pick, and I missed that. But how close these games were and how hard these guys play against each other, man, it's tough sledding. And so if you do come out of the SEC, if you're not beat up and banged up, you're definitely battle tested for that playoff run.
Well, speaking of scheduling and being competitive, let's look at the games themselves. Let's finally get to it. It only took us 20 minutes. Sorry, gentlemen. We'll go a little faster next time. ABC at noon Eastern. Vanderbilt goes to Austin. They're going to play at DKR Memorial. Not number 9 Vandy. They're 7-1. They're 3-1 in the conference. Texas is 6-2, but they're also 3-1 in the conference. Let's start with you, Vincent. Give me your thoughts here about the Longhorns hosting the Commodores.
Elimination game. Texas losers, they out. And as I said earlier on our previous show, I think Steve Sarkisian is underperforming as the head coach at Texas. And think about with the Longhorns. Really, they got 9 lives. Kentucky had them beat in overtime. First down in overtime, couldn't get it in from the 2-yard line. And then last week, as I mentioned earlier, Mississippi State had a 17-point lead on them in the fourth quarter. And I think that's really not going to be favorable with the alumni from the University of Texas. As far as Vanderbilt, like I say, kudos to my man. 1978 Player of the Year in Memphis, Tennessee, my hometown, but 2-time All-SEC Wayman Bugs who played at Vanderbilt. He's got to be looking like a cheesecat now, grinning from head to toe, because the Commodores, gentlemen, who would thought they'd be ranked number 9? But however, Diego, I'm going to call Mr. Diego, he said, Google me. We was going to be here challenging for a championship. Clark Lee, much love to the University of Vanderbilt. Back to you, Hart.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I'm going to peek just a little bit, Juan, for a number of reasons. Vandy's played well enough to earn a little bit of respect in a spot where they have not had any respect earlier in the cycle here with the SEC, especially over the past maybe 5 or 10 years. Yeah. This is going to be an easy win. Not anymore.
You're 100% right. Vanderbilt, what Clark Lee has done has been nothing short of amazing. The interesting thing, though, about this game this week is going to be how will Diego go, fare against Texas's defense. So even though offensively they've had their struggles, Texas's defense has been very, very good. They stopped a high-powered Oklahoma team, with John Mateer. So that was huge. The other big question is will Arch Manning play this week? I mean, he was under concussion protocol, so that's just going to be a huge thing that's just kind of looming. And then will if the backup goes in, will he be able to create a spark, and will that defense be able to help them out in this game?
And think about this also too. If Arch even does play, is he going to play? In other words, is he going to be the guy that is going to be able to lead this offense to a point where they are consistent, they get first downs, they move the chains, they get in the end zone? We haven't really seen a consistency, even though Texas is 6-2. Juan, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's and I think Vincent, alluded to it earlier. I mean, Sarkisian has just been underperforming offensively, especially to have a high-profile guy. And you kind of saw it when they played Ohio State, and you would think that it would have gotten better. And it just has not. And then again, you're playing a bad Kentucky team. I mean, they have a pretty decent defense, but a bad Kentucky team, and you're going into overtime, and you end up winning by 3 points. That's very shocking. And if you think about Sarkisian, he is an excellent offensive mind. Going back to BYU, going back to Alabama, and everywhere he's gone, and even when he had Quinn Ewers, leading them to to the playoffs, and then all of a sudden for it to be like this. That's very concerning in this. And so, Vanderbilt has a decent defense, not great. So it'll be a wonder if, how Texas performs this weekend.
Yeah. Is Vanderbilt, Vincent, are they playing with house money still, or are they good enough now to where, no, we're here for a reason and we're going to show it?
They're here for a reason. Diego said it. Hey, we expected to be here. He said that the SEC media days. Go back and look at the interview. He said, we expect to be here because he brought up a good point. He said the reason he believed in his football team, and Hop, I didn't know this, as you brought up a point to me off air. He said, we're an experienced football team. We got guys that came from other places that know that they can win. Now, Hop, what was that you said they had 10 what grad transfers to starting, right?
We had 12 guys on their roster that were graduate students. They weren't seniors. They were beyond that. They had one additional year, and Diego's one of those guys. But yeah, I mean, they're a very experienced group of guys that at some key positions are, they're 23, maybe 24 years old.
Like I said, the Vanderbilt expects to be here. And I keep saying this. Go back to the Alabama game. Diego had 2 red zone turnovers, and that game could have turned out different. And then we might be talking about a Vanderbilt Commodores team that's ranked number 4 or 5 in the country. This is a team that's serious, gentlemen, and the nation better take notice. And they got a player, like I said, he doesn't put up great numbers, but he always make plays to put his team in a winning position. And as the great Hopper LaBelle say, he's the Baker Mayfield of the NFL, playing in the SEC.
Yeah, just a tough, gritty leader is what I said on a different show, and a guy that you want to follow, a guy that an offensive lineman would say, I'm glad he's my guy, right? He will come to the party and hang out and have a bag of chips with me as much as he would, anybody else. And he doesn't leave with the pretty girl. He hangs out with us. He hangs out with us. He's one of our guys. That's the way I look at him. And I think, with all due respect, maybe I don't have it exactly right, but I think that he owns his locker room, and that's a key component. Next game we're going to look at, this goes back 1,000 years, right? This is Georgia and Florida. A little bit of a different rivalry this year. Two teams not going exactly in the same direction, but this will be a 3:30 ABC game. The previous one we just spoke about, that is a 12 noon ABC game. But number 5, UGA, they're 6-1. They're 4-1 in the conference, goes against a 3-4 and 2-2 Georgia. Florida team. Georgia will be at Florida in the big cocktail party that takes place at Everbank Stadium. Juan, I'll start with you as a former Bulldog. First and foremost, just talk about the pageantry of the game and the rivalry itself, and how, if nothing else, you just want to beat Florida for all the right reasons. Recruiting, we're better than you anyways, the competitive nature of it. Talk a little bit about your experience there.
Yeah, if you haven't been to the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, then you're really, really missing out. I mean, and there's a lot of pride that goes into it. The stadium is filled halfway, half Florida, half Georgia. And
was there one person that was on the wrong side, or is it always they know where to go?
Yeah,
they don't come into my territory.
There'll be some people that'll be sprinkled in that, and trust me, if your team is not winning, you're going to know it. You're going to hear it.
Get pounded with hot dog wrappers, aren't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But I mean, you sit there and think about the Run Lindsay run and all that history of that Florida Georgia pageantry, which is just absolutely amazing. And it's really, if I go back to at least to my time, they were a bigger rival than I would say Georgia Tech or even Auburn. Like it was serious, especially when Steve Spurrier got there and he would just run the score up on us. And so, that was our big thing is beat Florida. And for this weekend, I'll be honest with you, this is kind of a scary game. Florida, they lost their coach. They're a dangerous team because, they have nothing to lose. They're just going out there. And what they want to do right now is they just want to ruin other people's seasons right now. Florida has a really, really good defense. I talked about this before they played LSU, and I thought LSU was going to struggle. I see Georgia having some trouble with it. In the beginning, maybe they'll get it figured out in the second half. But if Florida puts up a couple of touchdowns, kind of like they did last year, we might be in trouble.
Vincent, he brings up a lot of interesting points, and the most striking for me is Billy Gonzalez, the replacement interim coach there. He's got nothing to lose, and he wants to make an impressive resume for himself. And there's a bunch of kids that are saying, nope, I know my history, and I know our team used to dominate Georgia, and we're going to do the very same thing. Now, they may not do it, but at least if they have that right atmosphere in that locker room, it could be a long day for the Bulldogs.
I think Georgia's going to play a hell of a football game. They haven't played a good game all year long. They've struggled offensively. They came in and they started playing better offensively against Ole Miss. I think Georgia's going to be ready to play just because of their coach, man. And they
Kirby
know the
doesn't like
situation.
Florida, does he?
No.
No.
As I think a former teammate won, I think Spur ran the score up in Athens. I think that still
Yes, he
sticks in the
did.
lie. I think Kirby was your teammate then. I think a lot of Bulldogs remember that. But I just think Georgia's going to be ready to play, man. A week off. They haven't played a perfect game, even though they played well offensively against Ole Miss. I think this team is ready to bust out on both sides of the ball because they got serious players that's going to play in the league. C.J. Allen, K.J. Bolden. I always say this: Zachariah Branch, who they got in the transfer portal from USC. When he's on the field, he's the best player.
Mhm.
Go back and look that move he made 2 weeks ago in that Ole Miss game where he stopped, then went on the dime. You can't teach that, baby. That brings chills to your body. And I just think everybody's saying, yeah, Florida, their coach is gone. They playing with house money. DJ Glagway is talking about, hey, we're going to be ready to play. But I think Georgia, they haven't played a good game, I mean, a complete game. I'd be surprised if they don't play well on Saturday and show why they ranked in the top 10 in the country. And to be honest, to show you that they still in the mix of challenging for not the conference championship, but the national championship. It's a great Larry Munson. Run, Lindsey, run! Oh my God! Oh my God! They gonna burn! They gonna burn St. Simon down tonight. Back to you, Hawk.
Hey Juan, did you are you aware of any whether it be Kirby or Mark Richt or Vince Dooley, would any of them play the Gator fight song all week so that the guys would say, I don't want to hear this song ever again. And I promise you, I will do everything I can to make sure that they don't even get a first down.
Yeah, they didn't do it. They didn't do it while I was there. I don't think Kirby would do that. Only fight song we would hear would be the Tennessee, the Rocky Top, which is a
Okay.
nice,
Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
kind of prepare us for that game. But I think Georgia has a dominant mindset. Again, this is one of those trap games, and think about it. Last year, all the clamoring is if DJ Lagway didn't get hurt, then Florida beats Georgia, and that's even with Carson Beck. So it'll be an interesting game for sure.
All right. Well, that game again at 3:30, the number 5 Bulldogs playing in a neutral site there at Everbank against the Florida Gators, and they are 3-4. They're 2-2 are the conference. Next game here, this is going to be a 4 o'clock kick on the SEC network. Mississippi State, who's 4-0, they're 0-4 in the conference, hoping to get their first conference victory. They go to Razorback Stadium in Fayetteville. Vincent, I'll start with you. The 2-6 Razorbacks, they're also 0-4. Someone's going to get their first SEC win of the season. Who do you think it's going to be, and tell me why?
Man, I could tell you it's going to be a lot of points scored. I think both quarterbacks, even though you're looking at both teams' records, have really put up some nice numbers. And really, both teams should have an SEC win somewhere. Of course, I got to show my alliance to Pig Sooty, University of Arkansas. As one told you that Tyler Green has played very well this year in Bobby Petrino's offense. But, hey, I like Blake Shapen. He's played very well, played lights out against Texas last week, had over 300 yards passing. I'm gonna say this. I'm going with Arkansas and Taylor Green, but which quarterback has the better game? That team is gonna win the football game. Back to you, Hop.
Well, that's the same as saying that whoever scores the most points is going to win the football game. Come on,
Exactly.
you got to give me a little more than that.
Exactly. Because both teams are gonna score a lot of points. So
Yeah.
which quarterback don't make that key turnover? I think it's going to win the football game. But both quarterbacks have played really well this season. It's just unfortunate both teams haven't been able to pull out a win in the Southeastern Conference this season.
Juan, 284 points scored and 262 points given up for Arkansas. Mississippi State has not scored as much, 261, but they haven't given up as much either, 187. Just from that perspective. Now, I haven't seen Mississippi State. I don't believe you have either, but you have seen Arkansas. So just give me your impression on what you think of these two teams.
High octane offenses. To Vince's point, there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. But to see Arkansas up close, to see what they can actually do, I just don't see Mississippi State stopping them. However, Arkansas's defense is so bad that I don't see them stopping Mississippi State. So instead of saying whoever scores the most points wins, whoever has the ball last is going to win this football game.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's and we don't know, but
yeah, and I'm going
whoever it is,
I got to go with my man Vincent, so I'm going with Arkansas.
Whoever has one more point than the other is going to win, and they're also going to get their first SEC victory here of the season. All right, let's go to one that a little bit more in terms of national prowess. South Carolina 3-5. They are 1-5. I didn't realize they had already played 6 conference games. They're going against the number 7 team in the country, Vaught Hemingway Stadium there in Oxford. 7-1 overall is Ole Miss. They're 4-1. Getting a chance to see them, I think. Vince, I'll start with you, Juan. The speed and the precision of the skill players of Ole Miss is so good right now. They're not locked in, but I think the potential for them to make any defense nervous, scared, and make simple mistakes when they wouldn't otherwise is something that is really exposing Ole Miss's offense as being really a leader out there so far this year.
100%. And, you have Trinidad that's just running it like it's clockwork. You got one of the greatest offensive minds, with Lane Kiffin. I mean, they just are hitting on all cylinders. Unfortunately for South Carolina, that was a heartbreaking loss last week to Alabama. They had that game in the bag. And I just think that that's going to carry over to this week. And then you add that to playing in Oxford. And Oxford is not the biggest stadium, but for whatever reason, it's just an eerie place to play. And so I just see this being maybe close, for the first, couple minutes of the first quarter. And then I just see the dam breaking for South Carolina, and Ole Miss just runs away.
Is there something in South Carolina? Is Coach Bremer, is he in a mess or in a tough spot? I mean, last year they were this close to being included in the playoff. They made the argument, and this year they're so far from it. What is your overall perspective in terms of the Gamecocks?
It's funny because they hitched their wagon to Lenora Sellers, and they just had so much hype, and they just everything was just in their corner. And then of course Shane Beamer, he's getting all these recruits, and everything was working great. And once Lenore's went out with that concussion, it just seemed like all the air, went out. So they went from being this close to, having an opportunity to maybe play in an SEC championship, making the playoffs, to now people are questioning, should Shane Beamer be there, and, will he be the next coach on the, on the hacking block? So it's disappointing to see it, because South Carolina is so much better than what their record is showing.
Yeah, I think there's a locker room issue, but there's also a field issue, Vincent. And I told you a little while ago, 27 sacks for my quarterback after 8 games. That's just that you can't accept that. So there's some issues. There's some problems with the offensive line, guys not getting open, the dump off, running back or the tight end. We're just not in sync. There are things happening offensively that just don't make any sense.
Well, like I told you in our earlier show, I like Shane Beamer. Things haven't gone well because they haven't played well on the offensive line. They fired the offensive line coach, I think the 4th or 5th game in the season. They brought former Georgia State coach, Sean Elliott, as being the offensive line coach. I don't think Mike Schuler's done an outstanding job as offensive coordinator handling Lenore Sellers. But think about this, as I said earlier, they lost 5 players in the first 3 rounds to the NFL draft. One of them right now is T.J. Sanders, excuse me. And so they lost a lot of talent out there football team. And one is right. They did hitch their wagon to Lenore Sellers. But they didn't tell us that their offensive line was a question mark. And the young man has been hit a lot. But I tell you what, he's played well once he's been able to make some things happen. Now, coming up this Saturday, South Carolina, to me, is playing with house money. We know Ole Miss is going to score. Right now, they're riding high with Lane Kiffin. As you said, Harper, they got probably the best skilled people in America right now. They just came from Norman, Oklahoma, and made a tremendous statement on the national level. But I just think that South Carolina's got one of them games that they're going to play very well. And I think if they protect Lenore Sellers, he's shown you when big games come from last season that he can be a difference maker. And that's why he's high on NFL draft boards. And I'm going to respond to Juan's comment. Yeah, South Carolina, They probably right now are putting the smoke on Shane Beamer, but you got to understand something. There's a school that his daddy kind of built up in Virginia. And Shane Beamer, I wish I was a fly on the wall. You can go and make the decision you want to, but think about him being the head coach of Virginia Tech. He's going to be able to control Hampton, Norfolk, anything that's coming out of the Virginia Triangle, Virginia Beach, and think about all them great players that came out of there. One AKA Michael Vick. Back to you, Hart.
All right. Well, this game again, 7 o'clock on ESPN. Excuse me. 3-5 South Carolina goes to 7-1 Ole Miss there in Oxford. Next game we're going to look at. This is another one of those elimination games. Loser probably goes home for good. 6-2 Oklahoma against 6-2 Tennessee. Oklahoma's ranked 18th in the country. Tennessee is 14th. This is in Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. An 8:30 kick. Juan, we'll start with you. ABC is going to host one of the more important games of the season for both of these teams. These are must-win situations right now. You lose your third game, don't get a chance at all for the playoffs. And Vince and I were kind of teasing. We're looking at Citrus Bowl. We're looking at Outback Bowl. We might even be looking at the Independence Bowl for the loser of this game.
Listen, this is going to be one of those basketball scores. So if you're a betting person, pick the over. I see this being like 76-77, something crazy like that.
Will it have to go to quadruple overtime in order to be able to get?
Well, yeah, probably so, definitely. But there's going to be a lot of points. I mean, you have Tennessee that just gave up 35 or 34 points to Kentucky last week. So Oklahoma's going to do a great job of scoring. But Tennessee has a high octane offense, and so. With Joey Aguilar, he's got three great receivers. All three of them had 100 yards each, against Kentucky. Oklahoma's going to be fighting for their life. Like you said, if they have two losses, they're definitely, three losses, they're definitely out. Tennessee's got something to prove. They wish they had that Georgia game back for sure. They felt like they were just kind of riding high. Tennessee is just going to be a little bit too dominant for them, and they're playing for a little bit more. They had a taste of what it was like to be in the playoffs last year, so I see them going back this year and beating a good Oklahoma Sooners team.
What say you, Vincent?
Oh, I appreciate that. Juan, you picking the Volunteers. That's very good. But as I said on the earlier show, we was talking about how great that Oklahoma defense all year long. I think Lane Kiffin showed us with Trinidad Chambliss. That might be a different story. I'm going to say it very, very nicely here. I think the game is going to come down to both coaches. Think about this. Both coaches came in and said, hey, they're going to restore both programs back to this national prominence. And I'm going to watch my words candidly about my Tennessee Volunteers. Last year, I remember I said a lot of things about them, and I said when they got in the playoffs, I thought really they can win a couple of games and get to the semifinals. Well, when they got both rolled by Ohio State, I had to eat crow. And I had to eat crow by some people right now. One of them is right there on the screen. I ain't going to call his name. But I'm going to watch my words kindly. It's going to come down to a coaching game. Which coach is going to have his team prepared to play? Venables, you lose this game, the people in Oklahoma are going to be saying, you ain't got the job done since you've been there. What, he been there 3 years? Josh Heupel, I got off your bandwagon. You got to get me back on your bandwagon based on how you coached the Alabama game 2 weeks ago and what you did coming out of that formation and having Joey Aguilar throw that pass and they went back 99 yards for Alabama the other way. That broke my heart, and it told me maybe you the next Butch Jones. All talk, close, but can't finish the job. So I just think both the game is going to come down to both coaches. Which team is going to be better prepared to play, and which team is going to make more defensive plays in this football game. But whoever loses this game, just go to the message boards afterwards, and you might see somebody else talking about somebody else's job that's going to come down. Back to your heart.
We're having fun. We're kind of smiling a little bit, but for both of these teams now, and their fans, and the student body, and the players themselves, This is your playoff game. You in order for you to even qualify, you've got to win this, or you're done. Your season isn't over. You still got a few more games to play. I'm just saying, but your chance to be in the playoff, and that's where you were about a month ago. Everybody was saying, "We got a chance. Do we got a chance? Yeah, we got a chance." All right, 7:30 ABC. Number 18 Oklahoma 6-2 against number 14 Tennessee 6-2, and again, this game is in Knoxville. All right. All right, Vincent, let's just go. We don't want to talk about this game at all. There's nothing here to talk about between Kentucky and the War Eagle. Hey, all right, I'm teasing. Vincent, I'll start with you because I'm going to give the last word to the War Eagle right here. Kentucky is 2-5. They're 0-5 in the conference, and this is a 7:30 kick. Sorry, they go to Jordan-Hare Stadium. Auburn looking to turn the tide, so to speak. Didn't mean that as a bad pun, but they got their first conference win last week. And I would hope, as you guys were talking about a little bit earlier, the defense picked it up. We got a chip field goal here. We got another one there. We scored a touchdown. Everybody played a little bit better. Does that emotion carry over into this game? Vincent, again, I'll start with you.
No question about it. And I don't mean no respect here, and I don't want to start anything, but sure it's going to carry over. They got the young man under center. His initials AD. And if that happens, then I see Auburn rolling in this football game big. And I see Eric Singleton. I see Cam Coleman making plays in the passing game. I see the running game getting better. I see the defense coming really to another level. Keon Crawford, Kendrick Falk. This is a team that I said earlier, and I've been saying all season long, they're the best 4-4 team in the country. It's no question in my mind. They got NFL talent on both sides of the ball. And if they make the decision to have AD under the center, they're gonna roll. And they're gonna be a very tough team to play for the rest of the year. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Back to you, Harp.
Well, let's talk to the man right there. Quarterback last week comes in second half. He's 6 for 8. This is Ashton Daniels, 77 yards. His completion percentage is 75. No touchdowns, no interceptions, but he did have a 48-yard long reception that helped them for obvious reasons. He was sacked twice. So I'm reading from the stat line. There's nothing real impressive about that, Juan, but you know what's impressive? First downs, keeping the sticks moving, keeping the opponent's defense on the field, letting your defense rest, getting a field goal, getting another field goal. You know what's impressive? We're 17 points behind at the half, and now we're tied. And now we just took the lead. You know what's impressive? Walking off the field, being able to go, gosh, this feels good. We haven't felt this way in a while. Tell me where I'm wrong, Juan.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, in going on a 4-game skid, and everybody will tell you losing is a habit. And it's no matter how close it is, losing is a habit. You've just got that sinking feeling. So to come out of that sinking feeling to say, hey, we finally won was just incredible. And you could just kind of tell, to see the joy. It was almost as if they had won the national championship because they came out of that 4-game skid, even though it was Arkansas. So that was huge. That was big, like a momentum change. And so, again, you wonder who's going to be the trigger man this week. But at the end of the day, Ashton did an interview and he said it doesn't matter who comes out and who's going to be the trigger man. Both of the quarterbacks are going to be prepared to go out and help the team win this weekend.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about something that really not too many people are aware of, but when you get that first down, the linemen block a little bit better, don't they? There's that feeling when the running back brushes off against you and you hear the crowd roar or you hear the crowd get silent when you're on the road, and you get a little bit of a push, and you get to talk a little bit, right? And you move, and you get another first down. There's a reason that momentum. Now, maybe not so much on defense. That's a different momentum. They don't rely on the offense, but they can feed off of it. And getting that successful drive, getting 3 points when you're so used to punting, that change, it's not easy. But if you get that to carry over into this beginning of this game, because Kentucky's a different team when they're on the road. When they're at home, they are a hornet's nest to play in, and you've been there.
Yeah, and if you look at our 4-game skid, there were so many 3-and-outs. And as a defense, as good as Auburn's defense, and I would even say as great as Auburn's defense is, when you're playing, over 60, 70 snaps, at some point in time, you're going to break and things are going to be bad. And Hugh Freeze said it in his press conference this week. They played a record low of like 43 snaps, which is incredible for a defense. And all we did was just get first downs and just keep keep the chains moving, keep the clock moving, giving that defense an opportunity to rest. And what that translated to was 4 turnovers. That defense, came up with 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and a fumble, which was huge. But again, a lot of that is just being able to rest. And if you look at the Texas A&M game, you look at the Oklahoma game, you look at even Georgia, even Missouri. We had them at the beginning, but 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. You see the defense slowly begin to break at the end of the game. So that was a huge win for Auburn this week.
In spite of all those losses, real quick, Vincent, before I go back to you, 23 sacks Auburn's defense has, 7 interceptions, and 4 fumble recoveries. So you're getting the ball back, right? In the 7 games, 8 games you played, you got 11 turnovers in terms of the plus minus in your favor. And the defense will play better. They just do when they're not on the field as long, and the other team is punting and you're not. Vincent, give me your thoughts and perspective here. I'm sorry, Juan, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, you're right. No, I was just saying you're right. But go ahead, Vince.
I mean, we're not going to try to figure this out. It don't take a rocket scientist. We shoot marbles here. It ain't hard to shoot marbles. The bottom line, the offense has struggled all year under Jackson Arnold. I don't mean to say it, but that's what was happening. And like Juan said, he's seen all games up close and personal. Your defense is going to break. And I always said this: if it would have been me after the Oklahoma game, I probably would have made the change. Only because you got a quarterback that's got experience. Mr. Daniels' son, if you want to know how decent he was, go back to the Colorado game. He was outstanding that game. That night, I believe that was a Friday night game, wasn't it, Mr. Daniels?
It was.
I think Mr. AD, I'm gonna call him AD, threw for like 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. But what's the receiver's name that went on and got drafted by the Titans?
Alec Iomanner.
He made him some money that night. And
Yes.
also, too, Mr. Daniels, he really put the work in against Travis Hunter that evening. So at the end of the day, I've always said when Mr. Daniels came to Auburn in the transfer report, I said, man, they got a good quarterback. But I also knew Jackson Arnold's history. And I'm gonna go on what my partner here say, the legend, the savant. We was talking the other day about Billy Napier going to LSU. And Harper said point blank, why would I want somebody else failure? Back to you, Harp.
Well, Vincent, you said, I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it, but you said it anyway. So I want to make sure that we all know that, yeah, even though you didn't mean to say it, it came out. So we'll see how that goes. Final thoughts here, guys. Another good week of exciting SEC action. You can find 1 or 2 games that people around the nation are going to be wanting to peek in and see. What we're going to talk about Vandy. They're going to talk about Texas. They're going to talk a little bit about Georgia. Talk a little bit about Ole Miss. Bama's got the week off. I got to peek in and watch some of these other games. And you might even, if you stay up late, you might even get a chance to see Kentucky and Ole Miss. You will be there, Juan. So you won't be able to see any of the other games, but you'll be en route there to Jordan Hare. What time do you plan on getting there?
I'll probably get there up around, about 4:30. But I will have an opportunity to watch some of the games. I do have YouTube TV on my phone, so I get an opportunity to watch some of the games while we're either waiting for the Tiger Walk or while we're sitting in the stadium. So I like to keep up to date, but I definitely will have my eyes on that Georgia-Florida game for sure.
Yes, for Georgia and Alabama State Troopers, Juan will not be driving and watching his YouTube phone app.
Exactly.
That will not be taking place. However, his wife may have it on, and she might be going, oh, did you see that?
Exactly.
Yeah. Vincent, final thoughts from you.
Hey, outstanding football. A lot of great football left in the SEC. It's playoff football, as I said, elimination games. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to be left after this week, the week following, and then it's going to be interesting to see who's going to play in the SEC championship game and how many teams get in the college football playoffs out of I consider the greatest conference right now in all of college football, the SEC. Back to you, Hop.
A lot of great football, and you've got 9 of the top 20 teams in the Southeast Conference, and pick a game. Just pick any one of them. You're going to see some great football. So we appreciate you being a part of the show here for Juan Daniels, the former Georgia Bulldawg, and newly scouting the Auburn Tigers in a completely different way with a big smile on his face. For Vincent Turner, our co-host and our founder, I'm Harper LaBelle saying thank you for tuning in. This has been 100 Yards of Football. This is our SEC preview show for week number